Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Great Lakes BioBlitz webinar. We are so glad that you're here. This Great Lakes BioBlitz is science in action, and it's put on by the Center for Great Lakes Literacy, also known as Seagull. See what I did there? CGLL, Seagull Center for Great Lakes Literacy. Yes. Well, in this 40-minute webinar, you'll get to learn about observing nature from local scientists and gain some tips about using iNaturalist for that data collection. Our project partners are also going to share some resources for the land-water learning across the Great Lakes Basin. Please know that this webinar will be recorded and that links will be posted to the Minnesota Sea Grant and Seagull websites.
Hi, everyone. Anyone can join this BioBlitz. Educators, students, families, youth groups, and just general public are all invited to participate in the 2025 Great Lakes BioBlitz, which is a community science effort to record as many species within a designated location and time period as possible. This BioBlitz focuses on the entire Great Lakes Basin, US and Canada, and it runs for about 4 weeks.
A BioBlitz provides a way to record biodiversity. That's the variety of wild living things found in a given area. For the Sea Grant Great Lakes BioBlitz in 2025, residents of the states and provinces in the Great Lakes region are working together to collect as many observations as possible. So you might be wondering, what is Sea Grant and what is the Center for Great Lakes Literacy? Well, Center for Great Lakes Literacy is a collaborative effort led by Sea Grant educators throughout the Great Lakes watershed. Sea Grant is connected to your Great Lakes State's university, and it serves people who need water science. Check out this cartoon. This cartoon shows just some of the ways Sea Grant and Seagull provide education and research data to industry leaders, policymakers, educators, community organizations, municipal governments, university stakeholders, and people of all ages. If the needed water science doesn't exist, we seek to fund it, and we work to ensure that it gets to those that need that water science.
And BioBlitz observations help us better understand land and water connections. Biodiversity data can contribute to research and conservation efforts.
My name is Heidi Ferris, and I'm with Minnesota Sea Grant and the Center for Great Lakes Literacy. I've brought some friends with me today. Welcome, Emily, and also welcome to Pi.
All right, so you're probably wondering why I just jumped off the screen here. I have a friend with me today. So I'll introduce myself first. Sorry, one second here. I'm Emily Lind. I'm the school program coordinator at Great Lakes Aquarium in Duluth, Minnesota. And here at Great Lakes Aquarium, we connect all people to Lake Superior and the world's waters. So we accomplish this by giving our guests really close-up encounters with fully aquatic animal ambassadors, as well as terrestrial, and this is a Vietnamese walking stick that we have here, and also semi-aquatic animals that live in and around our watershed. So, such as our Blanding's turtle Pi. So, here we go. I brought Pi with me today. I brought one of our semi-aquatic animal ambassadors. This is Pi, the Blanding's turtle. I'll get up close here. Say hi, Pi. Come on with me. All right. So this is Pi. Pi has a really important story to tell all of our visitors at the aquarium because his species is threatened and endangered throughout their range, which is primarily Great Lakes states and Canada. Citizen scientists like you can help Blanding's turtles populations by entering any sightings that you see into iNaturalist. And biologists and researchers regularly do check iNaturalist to see where and when Blanding's turtles and other Great Lakes species have been spotted. And this helps them save time and resources when they're doing their conservation work.
Well, Emily, what does pie have to do with the Great Lakes?
Well, Pi lives in and around the waters that flow into the Great Lakes. And Pi reminds us that we are all part of the land water connections. So, water is in the Great Lakes, it's in the air around us, the sky above us. Water flows across the land, it sinks into the land, and it moves through all living things. So, it really impacts us all. And Pi tells that story really nicely because of his semi aquatic habitat preferences.
That is just so insightful. Thank you so much to Pi. Thank you, Emily, for the reminder about water land connection and the call for action for us to care for that interconnectedness of the hydrosphere, the biosphere, the atmosphere, and geosphere. Um, Well, this 2025 Sea Grant Great Lakes BioBlitz on iNaturalist will help us do that even more. That focus on interconnection over the next 4 weeks will help us just tune in to those ecological systems. We get to make observations right where we live and then add our photos to iNaturalist. And then we'll be able to really talk systems in those experiences within the Great Lakes Basin.
Yeah, and if you haven't done a BioBlitz before, later in the webinar, we're going to share details about how to use iNaturalist. So definitely stick around for that. But I am going to go let Pi get back to his important role here at the aquarium. So a big thank you to Pi. I'll just say bye to Pi before I bring him back up in his exhibit. So thanks, Pi, for representing your species and helping the aquarium educate so many people on the importance of the water and land conservation.
And now we have an expert scientist who knows all about the importance of data collection. Please meet Clinton Dexter-Nienhaus. Clinton is head naturalist at Sax-Zim Bog. You might recognize him from some awesome YouTube videos where he shows people butterflies, rare insects, wildflowers, and critters from the Sax-Zim Bog and the Zim Wildlife Management Area. Clinton does research as well as uses iNaturalist in that work. Welcome, Clinton.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Heidi. Let me get my slides running here. And thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. BioBlitzes are a really kind of cool thing that we get to do as an organization. And so I'm excited to be a part of a greater BioBlitz than the one we just do in the bog. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about the citizen science side of a BioBlitz. So how do we do that science? How do we get people involved and engaged? And I want to do that through the context of the Sax-Zim Bog. And so I've got a couple things that I'd like to do. Number one, just give you a quick background. If you don't know about the bog, if you've never been to the bog, if you don't know what a bog is, we'll cover a little bit of that. And then I also want to talk a little bit about how we utilize citizen science as an organization, and more directly, how I utilize citizen science as an educator. And so if you've not been to the bog before, or if you have, excellent. Know that we are an organization representing a place, more or less, right? So I work for the Friends of Sax-Zim Bog, and we are a nonprofit organization that was formed in 2010 to do land preservation. That was sort of the goal, to take some of these habitats that were going away at a pretty fast rate, and say, well, let's do something about it. Let's be a voice about it. And so that was the initial intent, was to do land preservation work, and we've grown a little bit since then. We have 3 full-time staff, so we're not a very big organization. But we do education, we help support research, we do some of our own research, and we do especially a lot of this sort of outreach and communication, because bogs are really important places, and this location in particular is pretty accessible. And so we like to share as much as we can about it. If you don't know where I'm talking about, well, this might be one way to learn about it. This is a little map of the area. It is not the whole area. It is just sort of a focus on the infrastructure, perhaps the places that we as an organization own, so the big yellow splotches you see, as well as a good idea of the roads and where you might be able to go to the bathroom or find a bird feeder, all those things. It's a really useful tool for visitors who are coming or visitors who are planning on coming, right? If you like to get your bearings first, this is a great way to do it. But this is only a small piece of the puzzle. As the mission read, the Greater Sax-Zim Bog is something that we look at as an organization, and that's a pretty big place. We could look at it from the perspective of the important bird area. So Duluth is down there in your lower right. So we're, about an hour or so from Duluth, depending on where you want to go. And most of the folks who know about the bog probably know about it from the bird perspective, from great gray owls or northern hawk owl or winter finches, things like that, maybe summer warblers. But this is a place that is important for birds and by extension, everything, right? We learned about pie having a relationship with water around the Great Lakes region. A lot of the critters that have relationships with a bog or a place kind of connected to one another. And so this is about 147,000 acres as an important bird area. As an organization, we kind of double that or more, right? We operate within the greater Sax-Zim Bog ecosystem. And so this is about 500,000 acres, and this is where we sort of focus our efforts and our energy. Because if we look at a full ecosystem, it could be tens of thousands of acres, and maybe that's enough room. Maybe it's 1 million acres, right? We need to draw a line somewhere. And so we have with this little map here. And again, about 500,000 acres. Not all of this is accessible. Not all of this is public or private. Some of this is tax forfeit land. Some of it is farmland. There's a whole mix of habitats within this ecosystem. But really importantly, we're here because of this glacial lake bum. So if you've ever been to Duluth or you've been to the Iron Range, you notice as you leave Duluth, you go uphill and then you flatten out for a bit and then you go uphill again. And that flat spot is Glacial Lake Upham. It helped jumpstart and accelerate all of these wetlands in this area that are really important to the birds and the bugs and the plants. Everything that's in this ecosystem kind of owes it to Glacial Lake Upham. We won't dig too far into the glacial history of this place, but just know if you are interested in it, it is a really important part of this ecosystem and how the diversity of ecosystems that we have were formed. We have bog and we have some agricultural land to consider, but we also have dry upland forest, which you don't usually think about when you think about wetlands. But because we have this glacial lake, we have these cool habitats, which means greater biodiversity. And so land preservation is still what we do. We own about 25,000 acres, just a little more than 25,000 acres right now. We're always sort of keeping our eyes out for the next 1,000 acres or so that we might want to pick up. That is distributed across 8 or 10 properties, depending on how you want to draw a property line. 2 of those properties I classify as wilderness properties, which really just means they are places that won't get any infrastructure. They are preserved to be preserved, basically. Our Welcome Center, though, is really important. This is a place that has had an update recently. If you've been to the bog previous to 2022, the building on your right didn't exist. Just the original Welcome Center there, the black building on the left side of the screen. The original building was built in 2013. The extension, the Education Center, the Lois King Education Center, was built in October of 2022. And so as an educator, I get, about 500,000 acres to play with, right? I can take classes out and we can go look at streams and bogs and all kinds of different parts of this place. But sometimes I need a place indoors. I need a place indoors to look at skulls or feathers or things that might not be so nice to take out in the snow and the cold or the wet and the rain. And it's been really great. A great way to get school groups in, a great way to invite local speakers who are doing some more research to come in and tell us about that research as part of our Friday speaker series. There's a lot of things we can do with a building like this, but if you've never been to the bog and you wanted to visit, this could be your first stop, right? You could type in Friends of Sax-Zim Bog Welcome Center and show up. And if staff are present, which they are in December to March and June to August, you could come in and say, hey, I've never been here before. What do I need to know? And these folks will help you out. because we do have additional staff as well as our 3 full-time staff. We have 5 to 7 or so additional staff that are at the Welcome Center ready to answer your questions. And like I said, you may know this place from the birds, but I just want to make that plug that it is more than just birds, right? If we're talking about BioBlitzes, everything counts, right? And so in the Sax-Zim Bog, we are close to 3,900 species documented in the greater Sax-Zim Bog ecosystem. That number grows and grows and grows and grows every single year, whether it's during our own BioBlitz that we do sometime in the season. This year is in August, or it's from programs, or it's from people doing research, a lot of ways to build a species list. But as a naturalist, I get to do some of that. But also as an educator, I get to teach people about it, right? Most of the months of the year now have a program. So I'm doing programming in the spring and the summer. In the winter, that's bled over into the fall now. Basically, I'm doing programs every month but April and November, which is really cool. Most of that is field trips or bigger events. I also do some Minnesota Master Naturalist trainings. And as an organization, we are thinking about recreation. Maybe we're not out skiing and clearing ski trails or snowshoes, but that's a way people engage with the outdoors, right? And this is a great place to do that. And so we think about photographers and snowshoes and all those sorts of things that people do during the winter or in the summer, canoeing, kayaking, bike riding, that sort of stuff. We kind of have an idea about it if you have those questions. Visitor-wise, it's growing and growing and growing. It seems like every time I give this talk, I have to change my numbers. And so we're round about 6 to 7,000 people during the winter season who come to the Welcome Center, check in, and we can, sign their name in, that sort of stuff. Less than that in the summer, but that number is certainly growing. So around 1,300 to 1,400 people in the summer. This last winter was pretty big, partly because of the birds that were around. We had just over 10,000 visitors this winter, which is certainly a lot of people and a lot more than when I started almost 10 years ago. And part of what I like to do as an educator is get people out and in and experiencing the place with their hands and their eyes and their feet and their noses and anything you can do to experience a place. And so field trips and programs are very species specific. So we'll do a trip on orchids. We'll go and see some cool flowers, but we'll also learn about why are orchids so cool. We'll spend some time with birds in the month of May. It's not just, we're going to go and see X, Y, and Z bird, but let's learn about their songs. Let's learn about why we're looking for them in this place, right? Getting people in and building appreciation for this place helps build appreciation elsewhere, right? At least I would hope so. And one of the things that we can do through these programs or through a BioBlitz like this is encourage citizen science. It may be a word, citizen science, that you know. You may know it as community science. You may know it as a couple of other different terms. But more or less, we're looking at that sort of non-professional science, right? People participating because they're interested. And so I do want to make a couple of distinctions, right? Because when we talk about research, we might think about it from like a university or a federal agency or a state agency that has funding for professionals to do that science, right? But citizen science still can be research. It's just not the same kind, right? It's people who are interested and excited and want to learn more are participating. And you can do that in a million different ways. And we'll talk about a few of them here in just a second. But the other thing to know the difference between science, the research science and more citizen science stuff is that with citizen science, usually that's publicly accessible data, usually, unless you're working with a specific organization. You can just find it, right? You can go to iNaturalist and you can type in showy lady slipper and you can find a bunch of information about and location data and blooming data and all this sort of stuff. So it's a really good tool. Most of the time that data is accessible with citizen science. And for us, we use citizen science in a bunch of different ways. It could be simply just adding species to the list, right? If you come to the bog and you are interested in grasses, let's say, and you find a grass species that I don't have on the list, and you took a picture of it and you put it in iNaturalist, I would be able to go back and say, oh yeah, that's new. Check it off the list, add that to my spreadsheet of species, add that iNaturalist link and know that, hey, this is maybe something we should look for more, or it might be a great way to document rare things, the data that we collect, we've collected data for a number of different projects that are specific, like we want this data. But we've also done it in just sort of like, well, let's just collect this data and maybe someday we might use it. Maybe someday somebody else might use it, right? But it's there, it's available, which is the most important part. And the great thing about citizen science, at least in the bog and beyond the bog too, the Great Lakes region, right, that anybody can do it. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to be interested. You might not have a background in aquatic insects, but maybe you've got a pond in your backyard or in the park down the road, and you have a little net that you found in your basement, and you just scoop and see what's there. Take pictures of that stuff, submit it, and it counts. It helps people learn about the greater ecosystems around them. And so I just wanted to share a couple of projects that we do to varying levels of citizen science, right? So this yellow line mass might not look like anything, but this is our winter raptor survey route that we participate in with the Hawk Migration Association. This is a project that we've been doing at least 10 years now, and it might have a specific goal, right? A specific level of interest or expertise that you need to participate in this. But you could set up a route like this in your rural area in western Minnesota where there's a big gap of data missing about winter birds. Maybe it's something that you want to learn how to do, right? And this is a great way to be engaged. Find those places that do it. And so that's a nonprofit that we're helping out with this citizen science data. We're also kind of rounding out this season's rare owl surveys, which is part of a project through the Forest Service. So a federal partnership with citizen science. We're going out, we're listening for owls, we're writing them down and submitting that data. That data just actually got published into a big paper last week, which is really cool. I've done some publishing on our winter raptor data as well in the Minnesota Ornithologists Union publication called The Loon. So if you could learn about that there. We've worked on projects with the DNR, again, citizen science projects, surveying bees. I know there are some folks that do some bumblebee surveys around. That's citizen science, helping out a state agency. So we've helped out federal agencies, state agencies, nonprofits. We're also collecting data for our own uses, right? Because as an educator who educates about the world around me and all the things that are there, I don't have enough eyeballs or enough time to look at everything in this photo, right? I don't know, maybe all of the places that moose have been seen. And so if I was going to do a program on moose, maybe I'm looking at something else. I don't have time to do it. But if you came to the bog and you saw a moose and you took a picture and put it in iNaturalist, that helps me. Maybe it's about frogs and toads. When are we seeing tadpoles? When are we seeing adults? Maybe it's about orchids. When are they blooming? When are they not blooming? When is the best time to come and look at butterflies or flower beetles or all of these different things? Citizen science informs that. I only have a certain amount of time. But if you come and visit, that data can be used by me down the road or whoever else might be doing some education in this area or visiting, right? You can use iNaturalist in a bunch of different ways to help you collect data. And so, again, if you're not familiar with iNaturalist, there's going to be more on this. I just wanted to do a quick little blurb that it is a citizen science database to document any organisms. It could be eyelash mites. It could be the weird plant that's growing in your sidewalk. It could be some of the whales and elephants and these bigger creatures of the world. It was initially developed by the California Academy of Sciences and supported by National Geographic. But they are now their own nonprofit, their own standalone nonprofit, which is super exciting. There are millions and millions of users and literal millions of observations submitted that are so cool and so important because it's easy, right? It's easy data collection, it's easy analysis. It's also a great way to catalog biodiversity. What things are in your backyard? What things are in the park down the road? What things are out in April, right? There's lots of different ways to use data that gets submitted. And it's a really good tool, especially when you talk about a region-wide event like a BioBlitz, like the Great Lakes BioBlitz. And one of the cool things you can do with it is you can make locations and submit them for data collection, right? So we went through and used some mapping services, right? Either a GIS project or Google Earth, something like that. And you can make a landform and submit it to iNaturalist, and then that will collect all your data. So I don't need to go through and scroll around and say, gosh, I need to go down this road and document everything. It's already done for me, which is really exciting. You can build that into a greater project. This is the Spiders of Minnesota project. I just really like it. So that's why you're seeing Spiders of Minnesota. It's a great way to collect information for research, right? If you are a researcher like Chad Hines, who runs this project, um, he can now go through the state and see what spiders people are seeing. Where are some gaps in distribution data? Where are the phenology periods? When are these adult spiders out? It's a really useful tool for a researcher, but if you're just interested in spiders, you could join this project just to see spiders in Minnesota, right? It's a really cool tool. And what we do as an organization and what we're doing now with this Great Lakes BioBlitz is collecting BioBlitz data. We've done 12 BioBlitzes. This will be our 13th this year. And we started doing or using iNaturalist to help compile some of that data in, I believe, 2019, our seventh BioBlitz. This is a little screen grab from our eighth BioBlitz, BioBlitz number 8, which was entirely electronic. This was not in person. It was during COVID, and so we did not get together. But what we could still do is encourage people to come visit and spend some time out and about by yourself outside of busy places and see what's going on. Take pictures. So you can see we've got 824 observations of 535 species by 14 people. That's incredible. That is an easy way now for me to catalog it historically, right? I can go back and find this project and say, oh yeah, in BioBlitz 8, we found this many species. And in BioBlitz 10, we found this many species. And we had this many people participate. So it's a great way, to lessen your paper load, right? If I had a data sheet and I was scribbling down all the species I saw and it got wet, ooh, I might be out of luck there. But what we can use is this, and the photos that are here give us a lot of information about what's around, who saw it, where we found it, where we might find it in the future too. So it's really super cool tool. But again, for me, seasonally and when things are happening is really important. If I'm trying to schedule a new field trip for next summer and I do that scheduling during March, maybe I don't know what's going on in August, but I can search that database and find out, oh yeah, in August it seems to be butterflies that people are taking pictures of, or wildflowers maybe in August, and I can go and tool my programming to that scale. Great project for the winter, great project for the summer if you're looking about visiting a place during the winter, right? It's a really, really useful tool as an educator, as a naturalist, as somebody who just likes being outside and seeing what I can see. It's a great tool to catalog some of that stuff. And so if we look at specific examples, maybe you're interested in orchids. Maybe you're interested in this orchid in particular, which is purple fringed orchid. Maybe you don't know where to find them. Maybe you don't know when they're blooming, but you really want to see them, right? You could type in purple fringed orchid, and you could go and find locations for that near you or in the next state over or wherever you might be. And it gives you an idea of when they're flowering, when they're not flowering, and it might inform your visit. Or maybe you're interested in butterflies, right? But you're not sure when they fly. Maybe it's an uncommon species or a rare species. This is Jutta arctic, which is a pretty rare butterfly in Minnesota. There's a lot more of them further north of us in Canada. But this is a bog specialist, and so they only are in bogs. The other weird thing about this butterfly is that they fly in odd years. So they'll fly this year, 2025, and then they won't fly again until 2027 in our area. But there's some information that might mean, or some places in western Minnesota that they fly every year. So maybe you want to track your local population and see if there's a change. Or maybe you're just interested in seeing one and knowing, oh yeah, this is where somebody found this one. Let me look on a map where I might find another one. So it's a great tool to use to find more uncommon species as well, especially if you want to document them or keep track of them. Because as a bog specialist, that's the only place they can live. And so if we want to find more of them or do a better job of surveying them, that might be a great way to do it, is just ask people and say, hey, if you're here during June, maybe see if you can't find some of these guys. But the other thing we can do with citizen science data and with a platform like iNaturalist, and what we use it for in the bog, is to also keep track of some of these rare species, some of these uncommon things that you might not have a lot of in an area, the rare things. So this little image set shows you all of the species of conservation need in the state of Minnesota that we have in the greater Sax-Zim Bog ecosystem. The great thing about iNaturalist is that with these rare species that they will hide them for you. They will obscure location data to the general public. You will still be able to see where you found them. But if somebody else was trying to find zigzag darner, or a northern goshawk, or meager sedge, or a trumpeter swan, or black sandshell, they might not be able to find specific information which help protect some of these species. So I know sometimes it can be a little hard to say, "Ooh, I found this rare thing. Do I really want to include that in iNaturalist? Do I really want to share that data?" And at least with this platform, you can because they will automatically take that into consideration. And so we could talk at length. I don't have an unlimited amount of time though. And so I want to say thanks everybody for being here. I also want to say thanks for your interest in BioBlitzes because it's a really cool tool to use when we're talking about documenting biodiversity before it's gone or documenting it because we just don't know where it is, right? It's a really useful tool. So I'll leave this slide up just for a second here. You can see my email if you're interested in learning more about the bog. There's our website, the bottom little link there to the bog blog if you want to see how we did in our BioBlitzes to get you excited about this one, this Great Lakes BioBlitz. You can go there and see what we've done and see just how cool it is to get a community together to observe and document and find all these really cool species. And so that's what I've got for you today. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking around. I think we've got some time for questions. So if you've got them, I'm ready to take them. If people are there, there's a Q&A section we can use. You can type some in the chat. I know we've got some other questions too from folks. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Clinton. Thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge and images and experiences you shared. One question I have just to get us started here with our Q&A time. I really like how you spoke about species and location and timing. What are your favorite critters and plants that you're looking for right away this spring as the snow melts?
Yeah, great question. So one of the big ones is skunk cabbage. I know that maybe not might not sound very exciting, right? Skunk cabbage, but it's a really good indicator of a season happening, right? Down in the Twin Cities, I'm sure skunk cabbage are already done flowering, but it's one of our first flowering plants in the spring. It's a wetland species. It's usually one that is just exciting to show people because it's so weird. It creates its own heat. It flowers before its leaves come out. It's a really weird thing. And so I look forward to them. Moths, though, are another big one. Moths have been flying already for a month at least up here. And we don't think about moths in the cold. And so we have a lot of early season documentation to do on some of these species. And so even though it's April and up here it's still 20 degrees at night, there's still things flying around. And so we're looking forward to that coming back around. But just some green would be nice too, you know.
Clinton, I have a question too.
Sure.
Well, does anybody else have a question from who's participating today?
I think you're up,
Okay.
Emily.
All right, I'm up. So like, what about citizen data at the bog has like surprised you or led to new discoveries at the bog?
Yeah, great question. So I showed a spider slide, so I better talk about spiders a little bit. We had a birding field trip a few Mays ago, and I was looking for a really kind of weird group of spiders that are called the ant mimic spiders. They look a little bit like ants. There's much better ant mimics in the spider world than the ones we have in northern Minnesota. Um, but I thought I saw one, and so we took a picture of this little spider, and we just kept looking for birds. And it turns out the spider that I took a picture of was a spider that on iNaturalist at that time was only the second record in North America of that spider, and the other one was in New Jersey. And so in the middle of the bog on this weird little road, we took a picture of a spider that I thought was something else that turned out to be something entirely different, and one of the few records in North America of this species. Which again helps fill in a gap, right? How did that species from New Jersey, or maybe it's an East Coast species, now we know it's maybe not an East Coast species. That was a really fun one. We've had that happen with a ton of different moth species. We've seen that with a couple of plants, some stuff that's starting to creep north a little bit as the climate's warming. some invasive species, some native species, but maybe not native this far north. One from last year that was really interesting was giant ragweed. We don't think about ragweed maybe as being exciting, but giant ragweed it doesn't get very far north in Minnesota. North of the metro, certainly it'll go, but in St. Louis County, it doesn't get very far north. And so I found some last year, which was really exciting because I like giant ragweed. It's really cool. Um, which is maybe again a silly thing to say, but it's a cool plant. And we found some just right around the Welcome Center last year, and so that was again maybe exciting for a different reason, but still exciting nonetheless.
Cool. Yeah, some interesting range extensions, it sounds like.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, we've seen that with a couple of dragonfly species as well. We've got new locations for people who are interested in dragonflies from some of the rare things. Subarctic darner and zigzag darner were both in that last slide. Both of those are pretty rare. Both of them are listed in the state. And we've had a number of visitors find locations that we didn't know they were at and have found them at new locations, which is, again, the hope, right? The hope of taking pictures and submitting them to iNaturalist is to find some of that cool data.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions from our webinar guests, those joining us? Well, I do have another question for you, Clinton. I'm curious, when did you really start to become aware of the power of iNaturalist?
Ooh, great question. Oh man. I boy. So the more you learn about it, right? You learn about all the weird little tools you can use within iNaturalist. And I think finding out that you can filter by location was a really big one for me. Mostly because I could scroll around all day, right? And you can zoom around the map and find stuff. But I want to know maybe about, Itasca State Park, for example. We could type in Itasca State Park, and if they made it into a landform, holy moly, you have all of that data right there instead of having to find the road and find the access, maybe for boat access, that sort of stuff. Um, and so, yeah, it's a really great tool to do that refined searching ability. When my wife and I were in Costa Rica in 2019, that was a huge tool to learn about Costa Rica and wildlife, right? There aren't a lot of field guides for a lot of places in the world. Certainly, it's getting better in places like Costa Rica or Puerto Rico or even Mexico. But what if you were visiting, southern Chile? Is there information about the butterflies of southern Chile? I don't know, but I bet there is an iNaturalist, and you can refine it and search that finely, which is again a really great tool. But I think we have some Q&A questions, so let's see what the folks have for us.
Okay, it looks like Ginny Carlton is wondering, do you help with BioBlitz events that occur in locations other than the bog? For example, do you help schools at their sites?
Good question. I've never had anybody ask me, but certainly if time was available, I would love to. It's something that I think is hard, right? If you don't know the expertise in your area, or if you're new to an area, right, and you have a value in it, but you just don't know, it's always good to ask because if I can't help, I might know two or three people who can, or I might know, hey, you should talk to this person because they like live down the road from you or something like that, right? It's a pretty good tool. So, could I? Yes. Have I? I haven't yet, but I would love to if I have the time to do it for sure. Good question. Thank you.
For folks in the Duluth area too, that's something that I would totally love to help with as well. And I go into classrooms all the time for programs. So if it works with my scheduling and whatnot, like I could be a resource for that too.
Yeah.
All right, Emily is asking if I were to do a BioBlitz at my library, how would I go about it?
Great question. Well, Emily, I won't steal your iNaturalist thunder, but I think maybe you'll talk a little bit about it from that perspective. Maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
about
Okay,
that.
great. Then I won't spoil it. But the best thing I can say is do it, start it, right? Any time of the year works. Certainly summer months are better because there's just more things, right? But don't shy away from the winter because there's still stuff going on in the winter that's worth looking at. The lichens that are growing on your sidewalk, the trees that are just around your library, right? There's a lot of things that are out there. If you just even take a second, and you don't have to be an expert too, right? If you use iNaturalist, just take a bunch of pictures of stuff. Maybe they're cool lichens you saw on your sidewalk or on the bricks of your library wall. that's really good data. That's really important. Somebody out there is interested in it and they will look at it. It might take them a while, but they will look at it.
I love the word iNatting. So that idea of using iNaturalist, and Griffin Bray is wondering if you find that there's a difference in data usefulness between that concentrated BioBlitz and a more casual BioBlitz. Does one seem to be more useful than the other?
Great question. So let's look at it from our eighth BioBlitz, BioBlitz 8, which was during COVID, where it wasn't organized. It was over a week, where typically we do it over one day. The benefit of a week is that you can go to other places. If I'm leading a field trip on a one-day BioBlitz, I'm kind of restricted, right? I only can go as far as my group can go in one day, and really it's like 7 hours or less. The benefit of a week and being casual is that if you have 10 minutes, you can just do it, right? If you have 10 minutes on your lunch break and you walk around outside, awesome. There you go. That's a data point. You could submit that data. So I don't think there was much of a difference if we look at, BioBlitz 7 to 12 compared to 8. I don't think there was much of a difference with users. The people who are going to use it are going to use it excitedly, if I can say that. But if you're new to it too, it gives you a chance to like explore it and experience it and give it a chance. Whether one day can maybe be a little scary of like I gotta download this thing and I gotta learn how to use it and I gotta make an account, and I gotta do all this stuff. Where a week gives you some time to sit with it and explore it and then say, okay, I'm ready to go. Let me go submit some data. So I think both scenarios work great. I think giving a little more time to people is also a little more encouraging. Certainly, you might lose some steam, right? Your first 3 days, you might be 200 species a day, and like, yeah, I'm really gonna go do it. And by day 10, you're like, holy moly, what did I do? Where taking it easy is okay in a place like this for an event like this. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
It looks like there's some folks helping Emily with her library question as well in the chat.
Excellent. Excellent.
Some good resources there. Do you have a couple of tips for those new to iNaturalist in relationship to getting good photos?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So yeah, there are a couple ways to do it. I would say take a bunch of photos. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to take one and like leave and go to the next thing. Spend a little bit of time with that thing. If you have a background in plants, great. You might need to take a picture of the flower from above, maybe from the side, maybe a couple photos of leaves, maybe some stems, that sort of stuff. But if you don't know, like let's say I've never engaged with dragonflies before, maybe take 5 or 6 different photos and share them all. There's really no limit to how many photos you can use, because then that helps you key your eye in, right? Oh, I only need a photo from the front and a photo from the side for this critter. Or man, it'd be really nice to have a flower in bloom and also a seed head, maybe. Or there's different ways to investigate, but hopefully that helps you learn, right? That gets you excited about, oh man, what do I need to take pictures of? If I like clams and snails, maybe there's like a shell and that's all I have to take a picture of, right? But for a dragonfly or a butterfly, maybe it requires a little bit of nuance. So I would say take a bunch of photos. Don't necessarily worry about the quality either. You don't have to have like a frame-worthy photo. I've seen some pretty bad photos that you can still identify stuff with, right? Whether it's birds or bugs. Some species it might just be difficult. There's a lot of things out there that aren't identifiable by photo, and so no matter how good of a photo you take, it won't really matter. But take a lot, take different angles, shade it, leave it in the sun, like lots of little tricks there. Because ultimately, right, we have these funny little things called phones in our pockets that are basically cameras that can take as many photos as we want forever. And that expands what we can do when we use a platform like this. Yeah, great question.
I think scale too is something to consider too. So putting something in there so you know how, like wildlife tracking or something, putting your hand in the picture, if you have a little ruler with you or something, that can be helpful too.
Yeah, great tip.
I love all these tips and tricks that you're sharing, and I'm sure that our audience of the webinar appreciates those as well. We have some people watching today that have done a lot with iNaturalist, and also some beginners. So what we would like to do next is move on to walking through how to use iNaturalist. Uh, and I encourage folks to stay on it with, especially those of you that have not used iNaturalist before. We'll guide you through how to get into iNaturalist, and then also how to find and actively join our 2025 Sea Grant Great Lakes BioBlitz. Special thanks to our keynote speaker today, Clinton Dexter-Nienhaus. Thank you so much, Clinton. And
Thanks, everybody.
also, yes, thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom, experiences, the stories, and all of those photos as well. It's just been awesome. So thanks. Also, thank you to Fred Sproat with Minnesota Sea Grant for moderating this webinar. A lot of behind the scenes work going on. Thank you so much to Fred. And to everyone here, feel free to stick around to learn more about iNaturalists from Emily Lind with the Great Lakes Aquarium.
Yeah, so I will share my screen here. So Clinton gave a lot of really awesome examples about like when and how iNaturalist is just like amazing. And so now I'm going to walk you through what it will actually look like when you are on the platform. So you can download the app on your phone, but as a first-time user, I would definitely recommend doing a desktop version to start for when you're first exploring iNaturalist. So going to iNaturalist.org, creating an account with a username is all really, really simple. And then once you create your account, I definitely recommend exploring iNaturalist for like just 10 minutes, which will ultimately turn into an hour because it's super fun, and just getting a hang of it. So like, for instance, this is the main page here. I'm under my account. This explore tab is really fun. So let's say I'm really interested in Blanding's turtles. You can just type what you're interested in, Blanding's turtles, and it will show you here's a map of all of the sightings of Blanding's turtles. And when you zoom in, I'm in Duluth, so I'm just gonna focus in this area here. And then when you click on one of these data points here, it will show you, this is a research grade. So that's what's also cool about iNaturalist is as folks help you identify things, I think it's five people agree that this picture is of a Blanding's turtle, it becomes research grade. So it can be used for research papers and publishing papers and that sort of thing. Clinton mentioned obscured species. So Blanding's turtles are protected, so they're never going to share it says obscured here. So they'll never share the exact location of a Blanding's turtle because they are protected. So you can click on this sighting and explore this, when it was seen. If I think that this is a Blanding's turtle, and I'm pretty certain that that is, I can go in here and agree. So I can contribute to the citizen science data as well. So maybe I'm not great at getting outside and making observations. I can still contribute to a lot of projects around the world by just sitting on this platform and helping folks identify what they're seeing. That's really fun to do as well. So I'll go back to the Explorer tab here. So you can, maybe you're interested in looking for a specific species. That's great. Clinton also mentioned it's great for location. So let's say you're going on a trip. So let's say I'm going to like Isle Royale National Park on Lake Superior in May. I can specifically choose that location. My computer's kind of slow right now. I'm in not a great room at the aquarium here. But it's going to hone in on Isle Royale National Park, and I can select what month, like say I'm going to be there in May, and I can select that date through the filters and see what I might see on Isle Royale in May. So that's a really cool feature for if you're traveling to a new place and want to know what you're seeing. And then as far as, gosh, my computer, sorry, folks, too bad. if you went out and took an observation of something, it's just this green upload tab, and you just would, choose your file from wherever you saved it on your computer, and upload it that way. So if you want to join, everyone should do this right away when they get their iNaturalist, is go to community and then the projects tab. So you're going to want to, then you can search. So for this project, it's the 2025 Sea Grant Great Lakes BioBlitz. That's 2020. That's why I was like, wait, there it is. 2025 Sea Grant Great Lakes BioBlitz. So then you can, right up here, I'm already a part of it, but if I wasn't, there would be a little word join here. So you would just click join. So we already have 57 people who have joined this project. And this is where, so we're 12 days out from the BioBlitz starting. And you'll want to, keep checking in because there's going to be different challenges, weekly challenges. So make sure you're checking out this platform for what those challenges are if you want to participate in those. And so that's joining a project. And what's also pretty fun, so I recently uploaded a couple of things from just some hikes that I was on recently. So if you post a picture of something and you don't know what it is, if somebody out there identifies what you're seeing, you're going to get an alert here in this little message bubble. So I had posted a picture recently of some tracks that I saw in the snow, and somebody suggested a snowshoe hare. So it is, a couple more folks who will agree to that, and it will become a research grade observation. So that's exciting. I didn't know that it was a snowshoe hare. So maybe that is what I saw, which is pretty fun. Yeah. So any questions so far? I really can't stress enough how fun it is and how important it is to just kind of play around with these filters. So maybe I can try my Isle Royale National Park example again. These filters are also great too, because I don't know why this is taking so long, but let's say I want to filter it. Maybe I'm going to Isle Royale to look at birds. So I can specifically pick birds. And then, like I said, I'm going to be there. Let's say, let's just say I'm going today. Or no, let's say I'm going to be there. You can pick a range when you're going to be there from today till, I don't know why it's not going any further than that. Anyway, that's confusing, but update search. All right, well, I don't know why that's not working. Sorry, folks. So back to like the library question too. So if you want to start a project, you kind of just have to pick some parameters. I would suggest starting with some parameters. Do you have a certain date in mind, a certain location where you want folks to do it? And you can set that all up in iNaturalist. And if you want help with that, that can be something that I could help you with at a different time, but not during today's, like how to set up a project on iNaturalist. All right, I think I'm going to go to questions, unless Heidi, you can think of anything that I missed to go over using the platform or finding the project.
Thanks for sharing all those different ways to use iNaturalist. That was great, Emily.
Good. What if you want to do a BioBlitz, but self-service is limited? Is there a way to document or collect data and upload it when you have service? I'm pretty sure, at least when I am using it on my phone and I don't have service, I think it will just automatically, when you get into service, it will upload. But then also you can just when you upload your image from like if I took a picture on my phone and I put it on my to upload into there, your phone usually collects like date and time imagery, and iNaturalist will automatically pick that up from your photo, like, oh, that picture was taken April 1st at 2:40 p.m. So it usually auto populates when you put in a data point like that.
Just a few other tips and tricks as we wrap some things up here. Please know that iNaturalist has a forum that a lot of educators use. So that might be a tool in case you have questions about certain technology and use of iNaturalist or things like that. That's available through iNaturalist, a forum where you can look at a commonly asked or frequently asked questions. Also, it's recommended to set the geo privacy to obscured. And then also there are educators' guides available from iNaturalist. So many resources out there. We just don't have time to cover all the wonderful things that iNaturalist does, but we do have a lot of people across the Great Lakes Basin who are participating in our 2025 Great Lakes BioBlitz, including you. So let's all get out there and make some observations. Remember that our BioBlitz project officially starts on April 22nd, Earth Day, and runs for 4 weeks. So you can look to that. And then let's think about just wrapping up our webinar here.
Yeah, thanks for joining everyone and for participating in the 2025 Great Lakes BioBlitz. I'm really looking forward to getting outside this spring and making observations, and can't wait to see what you all observe when you're out there too.
I think one of the really important things to remember is that we just need to start doing it. Getting out and seeing things and watching the season change, especially from east side of the Great Lakes to the west side of the Great Lakes and south side of the Great Lakes to the north. Things are going to change at a different time, and so it'll be really cool to see how the phenology changes in this area when things are starting to bloom on the south end of the lake versus the north end. Yeah, get out there, try it out. If you haven't used it before, it's a great tool to use. If it's not for you, it's not for you, but this is a great way to test that out, just in case it might be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you all on iNaturalist for the 2025 Great Lakes BioBlitz.